Dale Johnson. We're here at the VCV Rack booth, and it's really interesting because the way the VCV Rack seem to do things is whoever's a sort of local developer on the ground gets to come along and represent. It's truly democratic, right?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it means that the original developer doesn't have to like come all the way from America to like show something in the UK. I just got in touch and he let me show it.
Well, first of all, we should find out what are your modules. What sort of stuff do you develop for VCV Rack?
So I develop things under the name Valley, and I develop a lot of different modules based upon my own musical tastes. So I wanted a sequencer, so I thought I'll clone grids, and then I wanted some FM synthesis, so I created a massive wavetable FM module called Dexter. I also wanted something similar to like some of the Roland sounds, so I thought I'll make a 101 tribute, not exact clone, but more of a tribute called Interzone. And one of my most popular modules is Plateau, and that's a reverb, and I've seen a lot of people using that in their patches.
It's interesting. I mean, we can actually just look at visual representations because they are virtual.
Yeah.
Of course, VCV Rack sort of really come up from it's open. Is it open source or yeah?
Yeah, the VCV Rack software itself is open source, but it's down to the developer with what they do. The current license is that free modules have to be open source, but there is an exemption where people can make premium modules and make money off it without having to release source code.
And that presumably you sell some premium modules as well?
No, these are all free. I like to keep it free because this is my hobby and I just get a lot of fun making modules for it.
There's a lot of people who do it because it's, I mean, in the same way as the modular world, is they're very evangelical about it, and it's hobbyist, but it's also, I mean, some of the developments in the VCV Rack have really kind of opened things up, haven't they?
Yeah.
And the version 1 just dropped this year, didn't it?
It dropped in June, in fact, so it's been a few months now, so it's had time to like do some extra bug fixes along the way. But it added a lot of new things since version 0.6.
So we've seen some of them, but you showed me a couple of things that I hadn't seen before. So can we just take a look?
Sure, yeah. So one of the big things that's in it now, if I show you a different patch, is polyphony. So if I load up the init patch, you have to excuse me 1 second whilst I change a couple of things here.
So is this what's this running on?
This is in Linux.
Oh, Linux computer.
Yeah.
Actually, well, that's good to. Oh, nice one. So you're a Linux guy.
Actually, I'm all free. I just found that my Mac wouldn't have been able to survive all day, to be honest, so I thought I'll get a Linux computer that can survive like 8 hours of showing VCVRack. But anyway, so this is like the init patch that you can play around with, but one of the new things that's been added is polyphony. So you can see in this right-click menu is that you've got polyphony. If you go on channels, you can have it monophonic as default, but you can have up to 16 voices. And this is on a per module basis, so the polyphony is not really being handled by Rack, it's being handled by each module. So as a developer, if I wanted to add polyphony to a module, I'd have to code that in. But you can see now all the patch cards got thicker, and that means there's now like 16 audio signals being sent down one wire.
Ah, okay, so and it makes the patching much more simplistic,
yeah.
So you don't have to have, okay,
yeah, because previously if you wanted polyphony, you do it the hardware way, where you'd have to have 16 modules.
Because polyphony is becoming a thing in modular, isn't it? In hardware as well. So.
Yeah. But this makes it so much easier just to make a polyphonic patch without cloning the modules all the time.
Yeah, excellent. So I have to ask you: have you kept an eye? There's also an environment that's going to be running VCV Rack on the iPad, iOS. I mean, it's not version 1. Have you heard about that yet? Your stuff?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's called VCVRack, and that uses the old 0.6 code. There's not a lot of support for it at the moment with module developers, but I'm aware that the guy who's writing it is currently contacting developers to see if they can use it on the iPad as well.
Yeah, I guess that would be a real good gateway sort of into this. Into this. So what else have we got in the latest version then?
So the module browser's been changed. So instead of it being just text-based, it's visual-based. So you can see
that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
You can visually see what modules you want. But you've also got tags as well. So down on the left-hand side, you've got things like mixers, you've got noise generators, panners, oscillators, reverb. So you can like dive in and see like, okay, what's available. Now
that's interesting because that also will encourage people to make their stuff visually stand out, so you can find it easily, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm just trying to think what else there is. I mean, I guess the other thing is is there stuff coming along that you kind of as a developer you get to kind of have input in?
From what I've heard from Andrew is that for version 2, which I'm not sure when he's going to release that, but I know that is going to be a thing, that there's going to be a paid for VST version of Rack. So that is actually like where it runs in a DAW rather than you requiring a bridge to get Rack to run in standalone and with a DAW. So it'll exist like a bit like what Reason is doing, where you have the standalone version and then a version which can run inside, say, Logic, for example.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. That starts to get very powerful.
Yeah.
I guess what we need now are easy ways to have multiple I/O systems so we can integrate with DC coupled. Because I mean that's what a lot of people are using these and things like CV tools and what have you to kind of have these hybrid systems, right?
Yeah. So
do you? I mean, do you develop purely in software, or have you got hardware system yourself? I mean,
into what? Sorry.
Have you got hardware modular as well as?
No. Though I have thought about it, and I don't really want to announce that here. But like, I get a lot of requests for Plateau to be in hardware form. So, and since I've done some hardware design in the past, but not for synthesizers or for Eurorack, it is something that I would like to look at in the future.
And do you have a hybrid system yourself? I mean, do you find you integrate it that way?
Actually, I don't even have a real Eurorack. I just use other people's and like see what's going on. I've just thought, I've seen VCV Rack, thought, oh, that's a really handy way of getting into Eurorack and seeing if it really is for me. And then of course I was told.
And now you're making it.
And now I'm making it, because my friend Ollie, he told me that, oh, there's an API for it. I know C++, so I thought, right, let's try and make some modules for it, and this is where I've ended up.
And what's the trickiest thing? I mean, is the graphics what's the hardest part of the development side?
One, coming up with an idea that stands out from the rest, but yeah, I'd say actual development-wise, it'll probably be the graphics I find is the most time-consuming, because I already have quite a large library of ideas in other pieces of software like Max and Pure Data, things I've thought up in the past. And I've always thought, I want to have that in Eurorack, but it's until now where I've waited until VCV Rack has come along where I can code these by hand. But it's making the graphics, which I find is important, because as you've seen with the module
you need
browser,
smaller versions as well.
Well, in fact, that's actually the full-size one, just resized.
Oh, okay.
It just shrinks them.
Right.
But yeah, it's making the graphics I find is the most tricky, because you want it to look intuitive to use, but also visually impressive.
Interesting. So where can people find your stuff?
Well, you can find it in the plugin manager, in fact, so you don't have to go to any other website to like download my modules. So VCV Rack has a unified plugin manager. So once you made an account with VCV Rack and logged in on the software, you can just go on the plugin manager online, download all the software that you want, and then it synchronizes.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I do have a website as well, like just for showing off like my current developments, and that's valleyaudio.github.io, and that's on this on here.
Where is it? I'm trying to see it.
It's in the middle, if you can focus on it. Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dale.
Yes,
Pleasure
thank
talking
you.
to you. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Yeah.